Welcome to this week's edition of Inside the Palace for GBM Royal. I'm Cameron Walker. And before we kick off, I thought I would take a moment to reflect on the astonishing variety of topics I am assigned to cover as GB News' royal correspondent. So, I started the week reporting on an extraordinary geopolitical row where King Charles appeared to support not one, not two, but three different politicians. He also became the first monarch in more than 40 years to visit a Royal Navy ship at sea. In complete contrast, I also ended up spending 4 hours of my life watching a certain cookery programme on Netflix, Overjoys, with all the typical Californian gloss and glamour that I expected. I'm being cynical, it was quite an easy watch, but obviously there's some controversies which we will get into. There were also two important mental health drives championed by the Prince of Wales back in the UK. The British Army also gave me access to Wellington Barracks to watch the King's Foot Guards undergo their annual inspection ahead of important royal events this summer. And finally, and I never thought I'd be saying this, King Charles will be hosting a brand new radio show on Monday featuring his favourite music from across the world to mark Commonwealth Day. More details coming on that specifically next week. Sometimes I really have to pitch myself. First up, King Charles is very conscious of his global responsibility, according to a royal source. So, King Charles, as I said, very conscious of his global security and the unique diplomatic role he plays, particularly in these uncertain times. That's according to a royal source. Just a few days after King Charles issued an official invitation to President Trump for an unprecedented second state visit to the UK, the US President clashed with President Zelensky of Ukraine in the Oval Office. If you haven't seen it already, where have you been? Because you've been living under a rock, but here's a very quick reminder of what happened in the Oval Office.
Your country is in big trouble.
Can I
Wait
answer?
a minute. No. You've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning.
I know.
You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
you haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
you
and not only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through
I
this
said
stupid president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military
president.
equipment,
You
and you
voted
men
for
are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
What about
if you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me.
equipment,
You invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak.
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3 days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days. This is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks. Of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this, I tell you.
Those claiming President Trump and Vice President Vance ganged up on the Ukrainian president, whose country, let's remember, was invaded by Russia 3 years ago, have joined calls for the king to rescind the state visit invitation. Others have praised the United States politicians for putting their own country first and demanding respect from a guest in the White House. Whatever your opinion on that infamous spat, I don't think King Charles will be cancelling the state visit anytime soon. The United States is a strategic partner to the UK, and the UK government would love a free trade deal with them at a time that President Trump is threatening eye-watering tariffs with some of its closest neighbours. President Trump also has huge respect for King Charles, and a state visit and a luxury banquet inside Windsor Castle could help soften the president ahead of tough economic negotiations in Downing Street. Following President Zelensky's row in the Oval Office, he travelled as planned to London to attend a security summit with European leaders. I understand it was President Zelensky who requested a meeting with the King at Sandringham afterwards, and both the UK government and His Majesty agreed. We don't know exactly what was discussed in that meeting, although I doubt very much the events of the previous 48 hours, i.e. the Oval Office spat, were not brought up. But images of Zelensky and the King sent a powerful message in themselves, both to Washington DC and Moscow, that King Charles stands with President Zelensky and the people of Ukraine. Separately, the King held a meeting with Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, likely his final meeting with the outgoing Premier. President Trump has publicly declared Canada should be the 51st state of the United States of America, which has strong opposition, funnily enough, and he also imposed large tariffs on the nation. King Charles is Canada's head of state, let's not forget, so all of this could have been a very awkward conversation with President Trump during any future state visit. Later last week, the US President expanded exemptions on Canadian tariffs following a telephone call with Prime Minister Trudeau, so tensions appear to have softened somewhat. So what is King Charles's role in all of this? Well, some have accused him of being too involved in geopolitical discussions, but a royal source said earlier this week It has been 6 days of royal diplomacy, and it's most delicate, deliberate, and nuanced. His Majesty is very conscious of his responsibility globally, regionally, and nationally, and passionately engaged in all of the detail. As a global statesman and a head of state for both the UK and Canada, the King's role is highly significant, and His Majesty is determined to play his part within appropriate parameters. His role, by necessity and constitutional obligation, is to offer symbolic gestures rather than express comment. Although it's been in the diary for a long time, the King also became the first monarch in 40 years to visit a Royal Navy ship at sea. He visited the aircraft carrier HMS Prince of Wales to thank her crew for the personal sacrifices they and their families have made. As head of the armed forces, His Majesty will be acutely aware of Britain's crucial role on global security in the face of continued Russian aggression. Next up, Meghan ditches her name Markle. The wait is finally over, and Meghan Markle, Sussex, has released her 8-part Netflix series with Love Meghan. To be fair, and I genuinely mean this, the series is a very easy bingeable watch if you are into reality TV shows offering a utopian luxury lifestyle with the Californian sunshine, a kitchen I envy, and better handwriting than myself. Who knows, the Duchess of Sussex may have inspired people around the globe to have a go at making their own jam. Maybe I will one day. Or beeswax candles. Others may have been angered by the suggestion a normal working mother, as Meghan appeared to suggest, has time to make a fruit rainbow for her children. I'm guessing lots of mothers, clearly I'm not one, but I'm guessing lots of them are too busy rushing around trying to get their offspring ready for school. I'm not going to review the series here because, to be honest and frankly, there's been so many of them already, both here and in the United States, but I did want to pick up on the Sussex name point. So when Mindy Kaling addressed her friend as Meghan Markle, Meghan was quick to correct her. She said, "You know I'm Sussex now. You have kids," and go, "No, I share my name with my children. I didn't know how meaningful it would be to me, but it just means so much to go, this is our family name, our little family name, i.e. Sussex." Let me clear things up here. When Meghan married into the royal family, it's highly likely she took the surname Mountbatten-Windsor. However, being granted the title Duchess of Sussex by Queen Elizabeth II means she has the choice to take Sussex as a surname for her and her children. It's in a similar way to Princes William and Harry being known as William Wales or Harry Wales when they were younger, because their father, Charles, the then Prince of Wales, obviously was known as the Prince of Wales. It's all to do with aristocracy. Meghan and Harry, as we know, left their royal lives behind to live a blissful life in California, having visited the English counties of East and West Sussex once, a few months after their wedding. Some are angry Meghan continues to use the name Sussex, but it is believed only an Act of Parliament could remove it from her. I suspect, funnily enough, that isn't high on the UK government's priority list. Next up, Prince William suggests enforced breaks can help break the cycle of poor mental health among NHS staff. So earlier this week, I covered the Prince of Wales's visit to the Oasis Health and Wellbeing Centre and the Garden at the Royal Berkshire Hospital in Reading, which happens to be where the Princess of Wales was born in 1982. Sadly, it's also where the first person to die in the UK after testing positive for coronavirus was recorded, and Prince William was there marking the 5th anniversary of that tragedy. He chatted to lots of staff from the Royal Berkshire NHS Foundation Trust, many of whom were on the front line of the COVID-19 pandemic. It obviously took a toll on their mental health, and money from NHS Charities Together, which has Prince William and Catherine as joint patrons, was used to renovate the Staff Wellbeing Centre. It was an incredibly tranquil place, and I had the opportunity to bask in the spring sunshine in the garden with NHS staff after the Prince had left. And they told me how staff morale had been greatly improved by the facilities they had, and the NHS Trust has far better staff retention levels than other trusts across the country. Facilities for staff at the Royal Berkshire Hospital are an exception, however, not the norm. There are only 2 facilities of its kind in the entire country. But do staff have the time to use these facilities with the grueling shifts they have, and often only half an hour for a lunch break? Prince William suggested enforced breaks could be the answer. He told staff this.
Unless there's almost enforced breaks in someone's career, as part of your career development, we're never going to get to the point where we can really look after people's mental health, because you always rely on an individual to put their hand up. And if we always rely on an individual to put their hand up, we go round and round the same problem over and again.
Will the future King's words have an impact? Let's see. Next up, the King's Foot Guards start summer early. Summer started early for the Household Division, who donned their red tunics a few weeks before the clock change for an annual inspection. The Foot Guards and bands of the Household Division were making sure they were ready to represent Great Britain on the world stage. For weeks, guardsmen have waxed their boots, polished their buckles and groomed their iconic bearskin hats with an exceptional attention to detail. The army claims the discipline displayed at Wellington Barracks on Thursday morning, a stone's throw from Buckingham Palace, don't forget, translates into an exceptional ability on the battlefield. All this, of course, at a time the Prime Minister is considering sending peacekeeping troops to Ukraine to deter any future Russian aggression. The Princess of Wales's regiment, the Irish Guards, was first on the parade ground, followed by the Coldstream Guards. The regiment is celebrating their 375th anniversary this year and will be trooping their colour in front of the King in June. The Household Division, as well as being serving soldiers, are called upon by His Majesty to provide the very best of British pomp and pageantry. This is why some of them will likely be involved in the official welcome for President Trump during his unprecedented second state visit to the UK. Others will be taking part in commemorative events this summer, marking 80 years since the end of the Second World War. If the inspection was anything to go by, which was, I think, perfect, it will be a treat this summer with a busy diary of royal events. Thank you for watching. This has been Cameron Walker. Don't forget to subscribe to the GBN Royal channel for more royal updates.